There are killers in the Breaking Bad universe who kill out of ego, out of pride, out of rage. Walter White, Tuco, Jack Welker, men who enjoy it on some level. And then there's Mike Ehrmantraut. Mike is different. He's methodical, professional, and almost completely without ego when it comes to violence. He doesn't kill because he wants to. He kills because he's decided it needs to be done, because someone left him no other option, or because a man he works for has ordered it and Mike has signed away his freedom to say no. Every kill on Mike's list tells you something about who he is, what he values, and what this life ultimately costed him. Today we're going through every person Mike Ehrmantraut killed across Breaking Bad and Better Call Saul. Officer Troy Hoffman and Sergeant Jack Fenske. Better Call Saul Season 1. Before Mike was a fixer for Gus Fring, before he was a parking garage attendant in Albuquerque, before any of it, he was a cop in Philadelphia, a corrupt one. He took bribes, looked the other way, played the game that kept you safe and employed in a department full of men doing the same thing. His son Matt joined the force and came to Mike for advice when two corrupt officers, Troy, Hoffman, and Jack Fenske, approached him about taking kickbacks. Mike told Matt to take the money, not because it was right, but because refusing would mark Matt as a threat, a potential whistleblower, someone to be dealt with. Matt took the money, and Hoffman and Fenske killed him anyway.
And the bastards killed him anyway.
Because his initial hesitation had already made them nervous, they couldn't take the risk. When Mike figured out the truth, he didn't go to internal affairs. He didn't file a report. He set a trap. Mike went to a cop bar, performed a convincing drug for hours, and let the two officers offer him a ride home. Once they arrived at an isolated location, Fenske attempted to shoot Mike with the gun he had taken from him earlier, but Mike had purposely unloaded it beforehand. Mike then used the gun he had hidden and shot both of them. These are the first two people Mike kills on screen, and in a strange way, they're the most justified kills on this entire list. These men murdered his son. They deserved what they got. But here's what matters for the story. After killing them, Mike didn't feel better. His son was still dead, and Mike had crossed a line he could never uncross. He left Philadelphia, moved to Albuquerque to be near his daughter-in-law Stacy and granddaughter Kaylee, and started building a new life in the criminal underworld. Because it was the only world that would have him now. Everything that comes after starts here. The 4 cartel hitmen at Golden Moth Chemical, Breaking Bad Season 3. By the time we reach Breaking Bad, Mike is fully embedded in Gus Fring's operation. He's the head of security, the fixer. The man you call when something needs to be handled cleanly and quietly. The Juarez cartel, locked in a dispute with Gus over distribution, sends 4 hitmen to Golden Moth Chemical, the warehouse belonging to Gus's chemical supplier Dwayne Chow, and takes Chow and his secretary hostage as leverage. Mike's response is a masterclass in controlled, methodical violence. He floats a bundle of helium-filled mylar balloons up into the power lines outside the building, shorting out the electricity and cutting the lights inside. Then he moves in with a suppressed pistol in the darkness, using the chaos and confusion to his advantage. At one point, he takes a hostage's shoe and throws it across the floor to mimic footsteps, luring one of the hitmen out of position. When he finally reaches Chow, Chow subtly signals with his raised hands where the last gunman is hiding behind a wall. Mike reads it, aims through the wall, and shoots him dead. 4 cartel hitmen, all dead. Mike doesn't take a scratch. Then he shoots Chow in the hand, not to kill him, but as punishment. Chow hadn't called Gus when the hitman first arrived. He waited. In Mike's world, that kind of hesitation is unacceptable, and there are consequences for it. This scene tells you everything you need to know about Mike as an operator, the balloons, the shoe trick, reading Chow's hands. 2 cartel hijackers, Breaking Bad Season 4. This one barely gets talked about, but it's absolutely belonging on this list. Season 4 opens with the cartel escalating their war against Gus. They're probing for weaknesses, testing his supply chain, looking for soft spots. One of their tactics is hitting Los Pollos Hermanos refrigerator trucks on remote highways, robbing the meth shipments hidden inside the chicken batter containers. What the cartel doesn't know is that Mike is riding in the back of one of those trucks. He sits in the freezing dark, completely still, listening as 2 gunmen force the truck off the road, execute the driver in cold blood, then spray the entire cargo compartment with automatic weapon fire. Hundreds of rounds punching through the walls, chicken batter raining everywhere. They're certain no one inside could have survived. They open the back doors. Mike is waiting behind a stack of boxes. He shoots both of them dead. When he steps out, he realizes a bullet has grazed his right ear, a chunk of skin dangling loose, blood running down the side of his head. Mike reaches up, touches it, and treats it as we would treat it when we cut ourselves shaving. It's a small moment in the grand arc of the show, but it's pure Mike. Patient, prepared, and brutally efficient. Leonel Salamanca, Breaking Bad Season 3. The Salamanca cousins, Marco and Leonel, are sent to kill Walt in retaliation for Tuco's death. Gus, who needs Walt alive to cook meth, has them redirected toward Hank instead, and anonymously tips Hank off to give him a fighting chance. Hank kills Marco in the parking lot ambush, but is critically wounded. Leonel loses both legs in the attack, but survives, and is taken to the hospital. Gus can't allow Leonel to recover and potentially become a problem. He has Mike go to the hospital and administer a lethal injection, and Leonel dies quietly in his hospital bed. This is one of Mike's coldest kills. Gaff, Breaking Bad Season 4. Gaff is the cartel's enforcer, the man who keeps showing up to antagonize Gus's operation, shooting up trucks, killing Mike's men, sniping at Gus's warehouse crew from over 1,000 yards away. He's competent and dangerous and has been a constant problem for Gus throughout Season 4. The resolution comes in Mexico. Gus, Mike, and Jesse travel there under the pretense to formally settle disputes, solidify a new business partnership, and ultimately eliminate the cartel leadership. And the cartel leaders throw a party at Donelati's estate to celebrate. It's a trap. Gus has poisoned the tequila, and the cartel leaders begin dropping one by one. When Gaff realizes what's happening and moves to intervene, Mike steps up behind him and strangles him with a wire from behind. Silent and efficient. Mike himself gets shot during the escape. Joaquin Salamanca puts a bullet in him before Jesse kills Joaquin and gets everyone out in a stolen car. Chris Mara, Breaking Bad Season 5. This one is personal, or as personal as anything gets for Mike. After Gus's death, Lydia, the paranoid Madrigal executive who was part of Gus's supply chain, is terrified that the surviving members of Gus's network will be picked up by the DEA and make deals to reduce their sentences. She wants all 11 of them killed. Mike refuses.
These are my guys. They are solid.
So Lydia does it herself. She hires Chris Mara, one of Mike's own former guys, a man who worked under him for years, to kill the other 10 and put Mike on the list as well. Chris starts with Dwayne Chow, using him to lure Mike into a trap. But Mike is smarter than the trap. He gets there first, figures out what's happening, and turns the situation around completely. He gets the information he needs from Chris, that Lydia ordered this.
How much was she gonna pay?
10,000 a name.
And then kills him. His last words were,
"Just Chow, but I figured I'd start with you. For you, she was gonna pay 30. I'm really sorry about this, Mike, but I needed the money. Those feds, they took it all, man."
Killing Chris isn't the same as killing a cartel soldier. This was someone from Mike's own crew. Someone who chose money over loyalty. Mike kills him anyway, because that's what you do with people who betray you in this world. But it's another entry on a list that keeps getting longer and harder to justify. The Colombian Gang, Better Call Saul Season 5. In one of the most visually stunning episodes of Better Call Saul, Jimmy McGill is sent to a remote desert location to transport bags of cash for Lalo Salamanca's bail. On the return trip through the desert, he's ambushed by a convoy of Colombian gang members hired to intercept the money. Jimmy is completely out of his depth. He nearly gets killed almost immediately. Mike, who has been quietly watching from a concealed position at range, steps in. What follows is one of the most precise pieces of tactical violence in the entire Breaking Bad universe. Matador goes down with a neck shot, Jefe takes one to the chest, and Mike picks off 3 more unnamed mercenaries from distance with the sniper rifle. 6 members of the convoy dead. Mike doesn't name them and the show doesn't linger on it. They took a contract on the money and they paid for it. What the episode lingers on instead is what comes after. Mike and Jimmy stranded in the desert overnight with no water and no transport, waiting it out in the dark. The conversation they have, exhausted and half dead from the heat, reveals more about both of them than almost anything else in the entire show. It's one of the great character scenes in the entire run of Better Call Saul. Werner Ziegler, Better Call Saul Season 4. And here we reach the one that matters most. The one that costs Mike something he can never get back. Werner Ziegler is a German structural engineer hired by Gus Fring to oversee construction of the Super Lab. He's brilliant, warm, and genuinely kind, completely out of place in the world Mike inhabits. Over the months of the construction project, Mike and Werner develop a real friendship. Not a professional relationship with warmth attached to it, an actual friendship built on card games and shared meals and late night conversations about engineering and family and life. Werner's problem is simple and almost unbearably human. He misses his wife.
You want to see your wife? More than anything.
After months confined to a remote construction site with no end in sight, the longing becomes too much. He slips away one night, not to betray anyone, not to sell anything, not to cause harm, just to arrange a weekend with the woman he loves. It costs him his life. In his naivete, Werner lets slip details about the project to a stranger who turns out to be Lalo Salamanca. Gus's most dangerous enemy now has intelligence about a covert operation he wasn't supposed to know existed. Werner didn't mean to compromise anything, he didn't even fully understand that he had. None of that matters though. Gus orders him killed. Mike pushes back, hard, and by his standards, at length. Werner had no malicious intent, he was coming back. He hadn't knowingly given away anything. Gus listens and doesn't move an inch.
This discussion serves no purpose.
When Gus Fring decides something, that decision does not get revisited. So Mike makes the only choice still available to him. He volunteers to do it himself.
I'll take care of it.
Better him than one of Gus's more brutal men. He tracks Werner down, lets him call his wife, a real goodbye, even if she doesn't know that's what it is, and then walks him outside, under an open sky, one last time. Werner goes with a quiet, confused dignity. By the end, he understands what's happening, even if some part of him can't quite believe it's real. Mike shoots him in the back of the head. What follows is brief, but telling. Mike falls back into drinking. When Kai, one of Werner's crew, a mean and graceless man, remarks that Werner was weak and that it needed to happen, Mike puts him on the ground with a single punch and doesn't say a word. Another crew member says Werner was worth 50 of Mike. Mike doesn't dispute that either. Werner Ziegler is the kill that marks the end of something in Mike. Every other person he's put down has made choices that, however indirectly, brought violence toward them. Werner's only mistake was loving his wife more than he could bear, and Mike shot him because Gus said to. That's the moment, not a dramatic crossing of lines, just a quiet, terrible compliance. Mike doesn't stop being a man with a code all at once. But this is where the code stops being his and starts being someone else's. He just hasn't admitted it to himself yet. What the list tells us. Mike Ehrmantraut killed 2 corrupt cops who murdered his son. He killed cartel hitmen who were trying to kill him or the people he worked for. He killed a man from his own crew who took money to have his colleagues murdered. And he killed an innocent engineer because his employer decided it was necessary. The list runs from completely justified to completely unjustifiable, and Mike knows it. Jonathan Banks has spoken about Mike in interviews with a clarity that's hard to shake. He says that when Matt died, Mike's soul died with him, that everything since has been obligation to Stacy, to Kaylee, rather than any genuine desire to keep going. Mike doesn't kill for pleasure, and he doesn't do it for pride. He kills because his choices compound. Because once you're in certain rooms, the only currency that means anything is violence, and Mike is very, very good at violence. By the time Breaking Bad ends and Walter shoots him on the riverbank, dying slowly, refusing Walt's apology, telling him to shut up and let him die in peace, it feels almost like relief. Not a good death, not a just one, but maybe the only honest ending available to a man who walked as far down that road as Mike did. In Better Call Saul, there's a conversation between Mike and Jimmy where Mike is asked what he'd do if he had a time machine.
December 8, 2001.
When Matt died, then he changes his answer.
No. March 17th, 1984. Day I took my first bribe.
That's what the whole list comes down to. One decision, made decades before any of the killing started, and everything that followed was just Mike living with it. Mike Ehrmantraut is one of the greatest characters in television history, and Better Call Saul gave him room to become something even more than Breaking Bad suggested. A fully realized, tragic figure whose decline is as compelling and heartbreaking as anything Walt or Jesse go through. The difference is that Walt chose this path with ego and hunger for power. Mike chose his path out of grief and obligation, and then found that he could never stop it, no matter how much he wanted to. Mike deserved better than what he got, but then that's true of almost everyone in this universe. Let me know in the comments, which moment in Mike's story hit you the hardest? The Philadelphia flashback? Werner? That final scene by the river? Let me know.